It's not that this is considered cruel, racist, or unfair. It's just being totally honest. It's being constructive. Constructive racism. Hello, everyone. Once again, this is Dare to Speak. This is a very, very touchy subject, and I just want to let you know I'm not doing this to be an asshole or anything like that, or to be mean just for the sake of being mean. I'm not doing it for that reason. I'm doing this to prove a very important point. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't want to admit to. And it's also part of social Darwinism, in a sense, depending on how you look at it. But a lot of the racism that's been happening in which people are discriminated against because of the way they look. There's different reasons that are totally reasonable, understandable. Now, I'm going to start off with the Hispanics, because this is something that I could actually pretty much say freely because of the fact that I'm Hispanic, and there's a bunch of stuff that I noticed as I was growing up, especially in, through my teenage years and my 20s and 30s and early 40s and stuff like that. Now, the thing is, I noticed that with Hispanic girls, and my sister is actually one person who could actually relate to this, because she kind of like went with the wrong crowd. And she started believing a lot of the stupid crap that they actually believed in. But there was also people that I went to high school with that were very stupid in their thinking. They hated girls, Hispanic girls, that were, used the term, whitewashed or a little whitewashed. They weren't exactly whitewashed. They were just a little bit more educated, and they had a better attitude, and they weren't, even though they lived in a ghetto, they weren't exactly ghetto. They weren't gang banging like some other girls that I knew. They were very stupid in the way they dressed, the way they acted, and they expected respect from people. But then, how can you gain respect if, first of all, you're not respecting other people with your low life ghetto trash attitude and your mannerisms and the way you look? I mean, it's just way too obvious. One thing that I noticed, even in things like this, I noticed there was a lot of girls that have like with Aztec features, their face and stuff like that, and they were dark skinned, and they actually had a resentment towards Hispanic girls that were light skinned and had more like European type features, uh, like Spaniard kind of thing, because their parents come from different parts of Mexico. It didn't happen a lot, but it was like one of those things I noticed every now and then. And I noticed that even in my 20s, when I was in when I used to work at certain places, and and also at the casino that I worked, there was always a big type of resentment towards Hispanic girls that were European looking, with Spaniard type features, and they're light skinned, because a lot of Spaniards could actually pass for white people, and of course, there's certain people that I know, I'm not going to mention names, that put down the Spaniards because of what they did to the Aztecs and this and that. Well, that's something you blame on Cortez. The Spanish conquistadors. You blame it on them. They conquered the Aztecs. Yeah, they enslaved them, and they took gold or whatever that they wanted to get from them. And of course, you could look at them as being the bad guys and all that stuff too. But that's something you blame on those particular people. You don't blame it on the race. I noticed, and again, I'm not trying to be mean or be an asshole, but with me, I've always been attracted to Hispanic women, or even Hispanic girls when I was in high school and then going through my 20s. I've always been attracted to Hispanic girls that were European looking. The ones that could actually, some of them could actually pass for white people, for white girls. I've always been attracted to girls like that, to women like that, growing up. And I wasn't really all that fond with Hispanic girls that are dark skinned with Aztec type features. I've always found them to be unattractive because of that. And it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of annoying in a sense. But at the same time, I wouldn't go as far as to like belittle them and saying that they should kill themselves for being ugly, or say anything stupid like that, because that's just straight up dumb and also very mean. But I noticed a lot of the overwhelming anger and hate that they have towards Hispanic girls, Hispanic women that are European looking. They're the ones that are Spaniards that could actually pass for white people, and they criticize them like crazy. And I start to think to myself, after so many times of hearing this, are they jealous? Is that what it is? They don't see themselves as being attracted. They see themselves as being second fiddle to these type of girls. And then there was a couple of guys when I was in my 20s. There was a couple of guys that says, "You're not Hispanic. You're fucking white." And I said, "No, I'm not white. I'm Hispanic." Because if you look at my younger pictures, you could see that a lot of people mistaken me for a Caucasian. Even though my father was Aztec, he's Mexican. He was from from Mexico, but my mom was born here, and she has relatives on her side of the family that were European. She had a lot of German in her family, going back 3-4 generations or something like that. There's a couple of German people that they got married to her great grandmother, or whatever the case is, cousins and uncles, whatever, aunts. And because of that, even my mom was mistaken for white. So I inherited a lot of her genes. because of it. And the thing is, I would get a lot of discrimination from Hispanics that were dark skinned and they had Aztec features. And they would criticize me a lot when I was in my 20s. And I thought it was fucking stupid. But then I noticed a lot of times when they criticize more and more and more, I'm just wondering, are they doing this on purpose? I mean, I know they're not doing this just to prove a point about something. They're doing this on purpose to what? To make me believe that I'm not a true Mexican? Because I'm not dark skinned, because I don't have, Aztec Indian features or whatever like that, like I'm supposed to have, or, the way they put it, which I thought it was fucking stupid. Is it because they're just unhappy with the way they look? And then they see somebody like me and other people like me, and they're very resentful. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. But is that the case, really? I mean, is that the reason why? Is it because they're very resentful? And there was times, even when I was in my 30s, when I used to work in a casino, I became no, we're not friends anymore, but I became friends with a couple of guys that were Aztec, they were Mexicans, they were dark skinned, and we would tease each other about the way we look, just to be funny. There was this one Aztec guy who became my supervisor, and he has the same first name as me, and I used to like pretty much make fun of him just to tease him, saying that he looks like Count Chocula. If he looks, from the cereal box, if he were to be in a certain pose, because he has that sloped forehead, that stone face, like someone just chiseled a face, stone, and then painted it with, dark brown or something like that. And I would just crack jokes. And a lot of people would laugh, but he wouldn't find it funny. He would find it funny by teasing me about, when I used to wear glasses or saying a bunch of kind of stupid stuff. And there was another Aztec guy who was, everybody used to tease him a lot, saying that he looks Arab because he had dark circles around his eyes. And I would crack jokes by saying that he looks like are you sure you didn't put shoe polish on some binoculars and just put them on, pressed up against your eyes, and then you got dark circles around your eyes? And everybody would laugh, except for him, obviously. And we would just tease each other a lot. I said, "You're an ugly motherfucker," I'm sorry, but he is. I mean, he was an ugly. Well, he still is, I think. But he was very rugged and stuff like that. He was a big dude. And the thing about it is, there was also in the casino, there was women from other departments. They were, gossiping about who's considered good looking and this and that. And they were mentioning a few Hispanic guys. There was one guy by the name of Julio, and a lot of women from other departments were saying how fine looking he looks, how good looking, and this and that and whatever. And this guy was European looking. He was one of those Hispanics who were European looking, and none of them said anything about the other two Hispanics that were Aztec. And then I was talking to a security guard one time, and he says, "Yeah, everybody's gossiping. All these girls I noticed are gossiping about Julio. He's so good looking, and obviously back then I was fat. So, and I'm still fat like right now, but I wasn't. But back then I was like up and down with my weight. I would gain weight and I would lose weight. Because I used to take Adderall to keep myself awake when I had my sleep apnea. So of course it was, you know, I wasn't on their list. But the thing about it is, they didn't mention anything about the other two. And then the security guard said, "Yeah, oh yeah, I know. I don't blame them because Miguel and the other guy's name." He says they got too much Aztec. They're ugly as fuck. And then when I actually mentioned this to one of them, my supervisor, and I started to laugh. He says, "You got too much Aztec. That's why you're not good looking." He says, "And a lot of women are not, a lot of women are not choosing you." And he got so fucking angry. He was like working. He says, "Man, that motherfucker talks shit. He talks a lot of shit." Like, dude, take it easy, man. I thought it was funny. It's funny. I mean, don't get angry at him for saying that. I forgot the name of the security guy who said that, but yeah, it's fucked up, but it's funny. I mean, what the hell? I mean, I wasn't talked about as being fine either. I mean, they didn't make fun of me, but they didn't choose me either, or say that I'm good looking also. Why are you getting angry? You know, and he's, you know, and it's because of the whole dark skin Aztec thing. And it got to the point where we got more angry, so I just decided to just drop the subject. And I noticed there was Hispanics that were light skinned making fun of the dark skinned Hispanics, saying they got too much Aztec. And even though I could understand their point, again, not to be an asshole, but I can understand their point. When you tease somebody because of the way they look, it's not really a bad thing unless you're trying to deliberately insult them. If you're doing it just to play around, just to goof around, just, you know, out of fun, then it's okay. But if you're trying to do it to deliberately insult them, to make them feel inferior, then of course that's wrong. It doesn't matter who's making fun of who, for how they look or whatever. Anything, doesn't matter. It's completely wrong. And I even had a couple of friends that didn't have much luck with women because of the fact of the way they look. And I noticed they resented a lot of the European Hispanic men. It's messed up. I know it's not really their fault. I mean, they're born that way. And the thing about it is, in a sense, I kind of like I kind of felt bad for them because of that. Now, the constant making fun of is the thing, or the constant criticism, I mean, of towards people like me for my lighter skin, and in the constant pretty much criticism on the European Spaniard looking type Hispanics with venomous hatred. I mean, they says that they're not considered real Hispanics because they're not dark skinned, they don't have Aztec features and this and that. I feel like a strong resentment that they're trying to deliberately insult even certain people they don't even know. They insult only because they feel insecure about themselves. That's the conclusion that was drawn for me. That was the conclusion that I came with at the end. Now, I want to explain more, but I don't want to take too much time. So I'm gonna do a part 2 of this. So hopefully, a lot of you will pretty much understand. So this is the end of part 1. I'm going to do a part 2 on this one now. So stay tuned for part 2. And to all of you, take care.